All right. All right. I think we are live on YouTube. Um, I think viewers may start to come in, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Courtney Ashworth. I am a holistic life and wellness coach. I specifically support women and more specifically, moms in finding their confidence, finding their peace, their joy in their home, in themselves. Today's conversation is part of a series I am doing kind of as an experiment. I've been coaching for about a year now, and I wanted to kind of freshen up the way that I am sharing content. I know not everyone has access to health coaching for one reason or another, or some people just feel kind of unsure of what it is. And so I wanted to create this series, Flow into Fall, to provide more accessible support for moms that you can just tune in here and you don't have to, really reach out and ask for the support, but you can just tune into these conversations throughout the month of August. I'll be meeting with different women with different perspectives, with different topics that they study, and you can just take what is good for you and leave the rest. These conversations feel especially timely for me. I will just share because I do have some transitions going on in my life, as I think most people do around this time of year. August has been called like the second new year because it is back to school. For a lot of people, it's a time of, it's just a season of transition, starting new jobs, starting your kids, you may be starting kindergarten or pre-K, or they're starting high school for the first time. And so there's a lot of transition, and there's a lot of feeling of we have to do everything, especially as moms, right? We're the ones that are responsible for getting all the forms signed and making sure everybody has like the clothes that they need and the supplies that they need, and getting all the doctor's appointments, and like kind of handling all of the things, the extra laundry, the meals, all of it. And so we can often feel like we're in a way neglecting ourselves. And I think that's what the focus of today's conversation is. So I have been introducing this for about 2 minutes. I'm going to try to not be so rambly today. We were supposed to I was supposed to be meeting today with another coach by the name of Caitlin Ball. She's also a coach for women. She focuses on intuitive eating. Unfortunately, Caitlin's unable to join us today because she's got some sick babies at home, and she doesn't have childcare. And I am very hopeful that her family all gets well. I just want to send that energetically to her, and also to just say that hopefully we can meet with her later in the month. But it felt important to still hold this conversation today. I'm big about keeping my promises, and I've made a promise to you that I would be here every week this month and provide some support around this seasonal transition. So I have a lot to say about self-care. I'm going to keep this short because I know that the conversation will continue, but I wanted to just have this kind of solo time with you guys and share a little bit more about who I am, what I'm about, what this whole series is about, and dive into some self-care talk. So let's get started. First of all, I want to be clear that what we're talking about today is very different than how our culture defines self-care. So what does culture say about self-care? If you think about it, I don't know, just think to yourself, like, what comes to mind when you hear the term self-care? And so for many people, that sounds like perhaps a pedicure, a haircut, a massage, a bubble bath, any of these things that are kind of external to us. And all of that is self-care. And I have nothing against any of that. I love a good pedicure. I actually got a massage yesterday, all about that. But what I would like to suggest to you is that self-care can often get tied up in this situation of being something else on our to-do list. That self-care can really feel like it is something else that we need to check off. And as moms, we're often told the importance of self-care. Like, I think that this term is getting overused, and I'm going to use it probably 100 times in this video. But it gives us the perception that it's something else that we need to do. And if we're not doing it, or if we don't feel better from the self-care that we're doing, then we're doing it wrong. We're not doing it enough. I think a lot of times we can have this like really busy, packed, fulfilling life, and pencil in a pedicure 2 weeks out, and just place all of this energy into, well, it's okay. I have this thing coming up. And everything's going to be fine once I do that. And then we get there and it's not fine. That's not sufficient. It doesn't actually fill us. And I've definitely been one to sit in the pedicure chair and zone out and just scroll on my phone, and leave the pedicure and not really feel much better. My toes look better. They look a little cleaner. There's a fun color there. I can tell people like, oh, look, I did this thing to take care of myself. But if I wasn't intentional and being fully present in that time, I don't actually feel better. So I think that that's the first question to start to ask yourself, is more so, oh, what self-care activities am I familiar with? What is the world telling me that I need in terms of self-care? What is the world telling me, the products that I need? And take a step back from that way of thinking and think to yourself, what is the need that I have? What is the self-care that is going to feel actually nourishing to me? So self-care, to me, the way that I think about it, self-care is what we do. These are activities that we do for ourselves, versus self-love is who we are, what we believe, how we are in relationship with ourselves, how we are showing up with ourselves, how we are talking to ourselves. Are we being present to our full self? And so we really have to connect our self-care with that self-love in order for it to be impactful. I think something else that culture tells us about self-care is that, and this is subconscious. I don't think that anybody is saying this, but it's the mess. So I almost feel like I shouldn't say this, but it feels important. I have not been told this, but there are subconscious messages being sent to us that self-care is selfish. You can go on vacation for a few days, but taking a more luxurious, extended vacation is considered selfish. I feel this way. The reason I bring up vacation right now is because for the first time in my life this summer, I took a 2.5-week vacation, and that's not very long. Okay, I know people who've taken much longer trips, but I traveled with my husband and my daughter for over 2 weeks. And what felt very different to me about this trip versus trips that I've taken in the past is that I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like there was work waiting for me, like there was a team waiting for me to attend to them. And where did I get that mindset? I've never been conscious of it before, but when I've traveled in the past for more than a few days, I've been very aware that there is this underlying sense of shame or privilege around, taking that time off, taking that time for yourself. Even when you hear people talk when they get back from a trip or back from something that feels like time off or like restful or playful or fun, when we return from that, you almost have to, like, culture says that you have to say things like, oh, I'm just glad to be back to my routine. And that's great. I love my routine. It feels good to be back in that structure. But is it important to say that when you could also say that you really enjoyed that time that you had that you really enjoyed the time off, that you really enjoyed the time that you spent for yourself, that you spent with your family, that you feel replenished and recharged. So culture tells us that self-care is, that was a little bit of a tangent. Let's get back. Culture tells us that self-care is selfish, that it's our job to hustle, to do more, to like get everything on our to-do list done, and then save some time at the end of the day for rest, if there's time left. But you better be ready to get back on it tomorrow. There's always more and more work to do. There's more and more things, more chores. There's just an increasing pressure of busyness, of things that need to be done. We are told, especially as women, to be this light, to be this positive, glowing being in our family, in our communities, and to say everything's fine, to say that we're good, we got this, it's no big deal, and not to draw attention to ourselves or to be too needy, right? If we're too needy, if we need time for ourselves, then there's something wrong with us. These are the, again, subconscious messages that are being sent to us. What I want to tell you is that that is buried in you, and you can give yourself permission to release it. You can give yourself permission to love yourself in a different way, right? Because we are truthfully only able to receive love to the extent that we are showing people that we love ourselves. So what do I mean by this? Let me say it again. We are only able to receive love from others and from the universe to the extent that we are showing ourselves that we love ourselves. So as an example, if you are telling the universe that you're tired and you need time off, but you are also trying to do everything and complete all of your tasks on your to-do list before you give yourself that rest, the universe is going to see that what you actually want is to continue doing things, and the universe is going to provide you with more things to do. Versus if you take the time for rest, that time will open up. That time will be before you. This reminds me of what I'm trying to get at is there is a Zen proverb that says, if you don't have time to meditate every day for, I think it says for an hour, then you should meditate for 2 hours every day. So what this is saying is that the more busy that you think that you are, the more that you think you don't have time, the more that you actually need to create the time, the more important it is for you to create that time for yourself. So what happens if we don't create that time? Something that I wanted to share this with Caitlin. If she had been here, I wanted to see if she was familiar with this term. But I recently came across something called bedtime revenge procrastination, I think is what the full term is, bedtime revenge procrastination. And what this means is this phenomena that psychologists started talking about a couple years ago around how we as humans, and I'm guilty of this, I've done this, will take that time that we need to ourselves at the end of the day. So we will work and do all of our stuff throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, when we actually need sleep, when we actually need our rest, instead, this bedtime revenge often shows up as sitting up late at night, scrolling on our phones, sitting up late at night, binging on whatever TV show, because it feels like almost like a tantrum, to be honest. It's almost like this place of, I'm going to get this time to myself. And late at night, you don't have the energy to do anything else for anyone, but definitely not for yourself. And if there isn't a plan at all of what that's going to look like, then you wind up getting sucked into distractions, to numbing out, right? Using our devices as a form of numbing out, just as you can numb out with food or with drugs or alcohol. That's a way of turning our backs on ourselves. I keep going off on these rants. I hope you guys are following. So, what else do I want to share on this? What do we do? What do we do? This is what I love to talk with my clients about. This is what I love to help support people in, is learning to change their self-care behaviors. And a lot of times it can be, and I actually received a question around this earlier, is that it can be very easy to say, okay, I want to start doing X, Y, and Z to take care of myself. I'm going to, um, you know, meditate every day, or I'm going to take a bath every day, or go outside, spend more time in nature. I'm going to go for a walk. And then we don't do it. It's that thing of actually making ourselves do it, right? So I want to give you all some ideas of things that you can start to play around with. I just want to encourage you, if this is all new to you, if this feels, I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you have, especially if you've been watching for the past 16 minutes, then you have some familiarity around self-care. You have some ideas about this. And so I just want to encourage you that if it's been a long time since you have shown up for yourself, to take it slow. I want you to think about being in relationship with yourself. And if it has been a while, then consider this a new relationship. Take some time to get to know yourself, who you are today, what your values are, what's important to you, what sounds fun for you. Take that time to really get to know yourself and take it slow. Don't jump right in. Right? A lot of times when we're short on self-care, it's like, okay, I'm just going to have a whole Saturday. I've seen women do this. I'm just going to have a whole Saturday. I'm going to get my hair cut. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to feel so much better. And it's exhausting. But instead, try taking it slow. Try having slow conversations with yourself each day and creating the space to show up. Think about paying attention to how you're talking to yourself. A lot of self-love has to do with self-talk. And if you really start paying attention to your thoughts, to especially the ruminating thoughts, the things that are playing in your head almost in the background, that you can sometimes hear words, or sometimes it's a feeling that you're carrying around with you, and we can get identified by that feeling. So we can feel this sense of shame or judgment for ourselves. I will love myself when. I will take care of myself when. And there's always something else. You don't ever reach that when, because once you get, this promotion or this opportunity, there's something else. There's something else that you need to do. And so begin now, paying attention to those thoughts, those feelings that you're carrying around with yourself, and recognize that that's just your brain. A lot of times, especially when we're stressed, especially when we're busy, when our lives feel overwhelming, our brain can get wrapped up in this identification with the thoughts. And it switches into like a nervous system hijack, where there's more stress and there's more negative self-talk, and your self-talk is very to the point. This is what needs to happen. This is what da 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 da. And so start to recognize that that's not you. That's in meditation, we call that the reptilian brain. That is your primal brain that needs you to be in action because it notices that you're stressed. So create some space, put down, set aside work, set aside your devices, any phones, laptops, set everything aside, and give yourself some time. Whether this looks like some formal meditation where you're sitting still and being quiet, or if it just looks like going outside and looking at the trees or looking at the clouds, or just sitting still and not needing to be distracted or needing to be numbed out. So create that space, put your devices down, and then truly ask yourself, what is the need that you are trying to meet? What is the need that you have? Is it boredom? Is it loneliness? How are you feeling inside? Ask yourself that. And then what is the need? And then what are the strategies, right? There's various strategies. So if you're feeling, say, if you're feeling lonely, you can distract yourself. It is a strategy to reach for social media, to scroll and to feel this connection. Or there's another strategy to have a one-on-one conversation with someone that you really trust and feel energized by spending time with. If you are feeling sad, there's a strategy that you can reach for a candy bar or cookie or some other type of comfort food that can bring you that temporary joy. Or there's a strategy that you can go outside and move your body a little bit and bring in some movement and shake things out and feel uplifted, right? So there's always different strategies, and that's important to, again, we're going to create the space. We're going to listen to what the need is, and then take a moment to think about the various strategies to meet that need, and then pause to determine which strategy do you want. And it's cool. Like, there's no judgment. If you decide you do want that candy bar, that feels like the best strategy right now, then have it. But don't judge yourself. Having a candy bar can absolutely be self-care if you're doing it consciously. If you're conscious of, this is the need that I'm trying to meet, and this is what's going to feel really good for me right now. That sounds very different than having the candy bar and judging yourself, right? This is kind of different, recording live on YouTube, talking to myself, but hopefully you guys are finding this supportive. Okay, a few last things that I wanted to share. Okay, some ways that you can start to get ideas of how to show yourself love. There's a popular book, I think the author's Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages. And so these are, if you're not familiar, if you haven't heard of this book, it's excellent for learning more about yourself, learning more about your partner. If you are in a relationship, I think he may have written a book specifically of how to use this for yourself as well. If he didn't, maybe he should, because I teach that. So the 5 love languages that people identify with are, we can show love through words of affirmation, through the language, the way that we're talking to each other and communicating with each other. We can show love through touch, physically touching ourselves. We can show love through spending quality time with ourselves, through physical material gifts, and through gifts of service, acts of service. So for yourself, I think some of them are kind of obvious, right? So words of affirmation, saying positive things to yourself. And this doesn't have to be like fake or cheesy or like, oh, I'm so great, if you don't actually believe that. But letting yourself know, like, oh, I'm stressed, I'm tired. Showing yourself compassion, like, oh, I've worked really hard today, I've done a lot today. I deserve rest, right? These are a different way of talking to yourself that doesn't have to feel like egotistical. Touch, physically touching yourself. This is one way to really, our bodies respond really sensitively to touch. Even if we're touching ourselves, it sends our nervous system the message that it can switch into that parasympathetic mode, that it can switch into rest and digest, that it can be easeful, right? We're sending ourselves actually oxytocin and other hormones and chemicals to create that switch into relaxation. You can show yourself love by spending quality time with yourself. Again, you can totally, like, self-care can totally be like just vegging out in front of your TV, or you can spend time with yourself going for a walk, or taking a slower, longer shower, and really like paying attention to your body, paying attention to how you're feeling, having those conversations with yourself. Um, Gifts, obviously. I think that's an obvious one. You can buy yourself things. We can also get into trouble with that one. So it's, again, with any of these, it's important to be really mindful and intentional of what that looks and feels like. And then acts of service, of course, could be things like getting the coffee ready for yourself the night before, setting out your face oil. I shared something earlier today about using oil on my skin. So setting that out next to your sink where you're going to see it in the morning, and making things really easy for yourself. Acts of service can be making your meals ahead of time. We're going to have a conversation later this month with a friend of mine, Alicia, about meal prepping and meal planning. And that can be really a really nice act of service to yourself. Okay, the last thing that I want to share is that as you start doing this, especially if you are being intentional and listening to your thoughts and paying attention to what's going on, we can experience something called backdraft. And Kristen Neff was the one who kind of introduced me to this concept. She is a phenomenal resource around self-compassion, self-love. So I highly recommend her work if this feels important to you. The backdraft is this experience from like firefighters. So whenever you open the door to a house that's on fire, all of the oxygen is going to go in and push all the flames out. And the same thing can happen when we start to pay attention to ourselves, when we start showing ourselves love, is that at first it can feel painful, really, because as you start to pour that love in, she describes the old pain starts to come out. And I've definitely experienced this with the more that I pay attention to how I'm feeling, the more that I show myself compassion and empathy and understanding, you also get to experience some negative things more deeply. And being able to hold that space for yourself can be challenging, but it's worthwhile work, because this is what gives you the opportunity to heal and gives you the opportunity to be able to regulate yourself, so that you're not relying on the people around you to support you, right? Of course, I love my husband, and he does amazing things for me, but I don't ever want him to feel like I am reliant on him to take care of my emotions, to take care of who I am. And that is a work in progress. Of course, none of us are perfect, but that is the goal, is being able to really be with yourself, be in relationship with yourself. If you're watching this and you're a mom, this feels especially important, so that you're able to be the best version of you, the most available, right? To have this filled cup that you can go to your kids and your family with. I shared a lot of information. You guys, I wrote out some notes. I think you guys probably saw me glancing down at them. I hope that this was synthesized enough that it felt supportive to you and not overwhelming. This is the work that I do with my clients. If this feels supportive to you, you have got to at least check out North Star Collective. This is my membership. I share monthly meditations. We have actually a full moon this week. And so the members will be receiving actually, I think this month's was 27-minute long meditation. So I record these ahead of time. I share them with the group. And then what's great is that we have our virtual community where we're able to connect with one another and support one another and provide accountability and insight and share in this humanity that we're all in. And so if you are into that, if you are looking for community and support around your own self-development and your own self-care, please check out North Star Collective. Again, it's a monthly membership. It's $17 a month, and you get access to all of that. You also get discounted rates on any of my other offers. So my individualized coaching, or my group coaching programs as those become available. I am also available for individualized coaching. Like I mentioned, I have a few slots open right now for one-on-one. I just met with somebody earlier today, actually, who's really looking for that support that is unique to her, and for me to be able to understand her experience, to be able to support her in an individualized way. And that's what I offer through my coaching. I have a framework. I have a lot of ideas, but my coaching is really about connecting you back with yourself and letting you, giving you the space to really start to believe and feel confident in the things that you know that you need to do to take care of yourself. Whew. Let me just check in with myself if there was something else that needed to be shared here. Feels pretty complete. Caitlin, we missed you. I really hope that everybody in your family feels well soon. Sending so much healing to you all. Also want to send so much love to everybody viewing this. If you have kiddos going back to school, give yourself lots of space, stay hydrated these next few weeks, and really take care of yourself. And we will be back next week. Who am I meeting with next week so I can tell you guys? Yes, next week we will be back, I think on Wednesday, but I will be sharing that more clearly. I think it'll be next Wednesday. We will be meeting with Alicia, who is a coach and friend of mine, and we will be chatting about meal planning. And I'm so looking forward to that conversation with her. So I hope you all can join us. And I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And yeah, talk to you all soon.